Hello and welcome to Mad About Superheroes, cartoon commentary on Spider-Man and his amazing friends. The episode that we're about to watch is the Vengeance of Loki. Little hint there to who the guest star is in this episode, and that is the mighty Thor. I've said it before, I'll say it again. Great intro to the series and excellent theme song. Very nostalgic feelings when I hear this and see this from my childhood, watching Spider-Man and his amazing friends on Saturday morning, along with the Incredible Hulk cartoon series. Love Spider-Man busting through that ice giant. A different ice giant than the ones that would appear in this episode. Actually, it was a fire monster that the Iceman froze into ice, and then he bust through it. I stand corrected on myself. There's the title card. Great title card there. The Vengeance of Loki. It's a great title to the episode, too. And I feel like a lot of these guest appearances almost feel like they're trying to be backdoor pilots. Like, they set up the character, and I would have loved if they did a spin-off of Thor cartoon series. I think he really lends himself to being a cartoon series, especially of the era. He's got a great, location on Asgard, very colorful and different, and a great supporting cast, with Odin and his half-brother Loki as the villain, and Boldar and all these characters from Asgard. So that would have been cool, but alas, it was not meant to be, and we'd have to wait to get Thor films, and I don't think he's had his own cartoon series, but he's appeared on, Avengers cartoons and such. But when I was a kid, I would have ate it up. And I love the look of Loki. He's got a great look. That costume with the helmet and the horns. I like how when they did the first Thor movie and the Avengers movie, that he retained that helmet with those huge horns. Later on, they even Thor, he doesn't wear the helmet in the films, the live action. He wears it a little bit and then he gets rid of it. So it's always cool when they represent in the live action films the classic looks of these characters. But now we got the trio here: Angelica Jones, Peter Parker, and Bobby Drake. And they're revealing here that Angelica and Peter didn't know that Bobby has a code name and works with the government, and he's going to be sent on this mission. So that's kind of funny. And I love this. When they do almost every episode where they move the trophy and then their room turns into, a crime-fighting lab. That's cool. And was gifted to them by Tony Stark. I covered in a previous episode of the origin of the Spider-Friends. And they reveal how they got all this tech and, this crime-fighting gizmos and computers and such. So they tried, even back then, they were trying to do the shared universe like an animated form, much like they did in the comics, before the cartoons. So that's cool. And they've been called out to the sea, to somewhere in the Arctic. There was a mishap with a boat. We're seeing here, it's kind of toppling over. This is the real story of the Titanic. This is what really happened. Loki was involved. And there's this gem down there on the bottom of the sea or the ocean that Iceman spotted. But he can't be distracted. He's got to help save this sinking ship. So Loki's caused this. He's put this plan into motion to get revenge on his half-brother Thor, who he's extremely jealous of. And like most villains I've mentioned before, they want to rule the world. It's not enough that he takes over Asgard. He wants Earth and all the realms, and typical villain stuff. So Iceman's been called out by the government on this mission, and he's brought along his friends, Spider-Man and Firestar. I love the way Thor talks. Stand thee back, mortal. Very majestic sounding. and befitting the character, a Norse god. So they've used a bit of teamwork here to rescue this vessel. Love Iceman's little ice sleds that he uses to get around. It's a very cool use of his powers. And now Thor's going to team up with the Spider Friends. And they're going to go for it. Spider Friends, go for it. So Thor goes back, much like a lot of the Marvel superheroes, including Spider-Man, back to the 60s. And like Spider-Man, Spider-Man first appeared in Amazing Fantasy number 15 before he got his own, title. And Thor was in Journey into Mystery. I believe it was issue number 83 that he first appeared in, and same thing. And then he spun off into his own series, with his name on the title, Thor, the Mighty Thor. Stan Lee loved his adjectives: the Mighty Thor, the Amazing Spider-Man, the Invincible Iron Man, and so on and so on and so on. And now we're going to see, like I said, these always feel like when they do these guest appearances, like setups for like trying to do like a backdoor pilot, and they're going over Asgard and his supporting cast and a lot of plot stuff. So that's cool. I like that. And now they're introducing the ice giants, or as they call them in their first Thor movie, frost giants. I can go with either. They both sound cool. And there's Loki sitting on his throne. The god of mischief, or the god of evil. Master of mischief, god of evil. Something like that. Like all the villainous monikers of Thor's rogues gallery. And like how Spider-Man and Firestar are freezing their butts off, shivering. So she's got to heat up. I like this. Spider-Man snuggling up to Firestar, and Iceman's like, "Oh, great, you finally got an excuse." I like the little love triangle they do between them. Like sometimes Iceman's going on a date with Firestar, and sometimes it's Spider-Man. But she keeps them in the friend zone. They don't go into the full tilt romance in this. I like this Loki running across the Rainbow Bridge. Before they had to get fancy and call it the Bifrost. When I was a kid and I was reading comics, it was the Rainbow Bridge. How they travel between worlds and such. Very cool stuff. Very imaginative. Like I said, I would have loved the Thor cartoon when I was a kid. Do kids even watch cartoons anymore? But yeah, even of course, Thor is like a Norse myth, and then Marvel Comics, appropriated it and made it their own, and made him more superhero-ish. So he's got to have that, very superhero-looking, colorful costume. But love the Thor helmet and the wings. I wish that they, I was glad we got it in the first Thor movie, but they slowly, actually quickly they did away with that. He took it off. I think they might have bookended it. He had it when he got his powers back at the end of the movie, and now we got these guys are fighting a polar bear. Did John Peters write the script of this episode? For anybody who doesn't know, the '90s Superman movie that never came out, Superman Lives, that Kevin Smith had a hand in writing the first script of. He always tells the story about how the producer, John Peters, had all these things that he wanted incorporated into the script. And Superman or Brainiac fighting polar bears was one of them. So that's when I saw the polar bear and these guys going up against a polar bear. So these two, the MacGuffin of the episode is these two gems that Loki wants to get his hands on that will give him some kind of ultimate power. They don't really explain, what they do, but they give him some kind of ultimate power. He only has one, and he wants to get the other one. And that's the one that Iceman spied in the water when he was trying to help the sinking ship. And now we've got the face-to-face with the villain, Thor and Loki. There's the vengeance. He wants vengeance. And Loki was actually the reason that the Avengers formed in the comic books way back in the 60s. He was the villain in the first issue when they teamed up, and that's what he wanted in that issue was vengeance against his brother. And then all these other heroes got involved, and then he decided at the end of the issue to stay a team, which is very cool. Something I believe Marvel Comics Stan Lee had did to compete with DC's Justice League comic.
This isn't exactly a winter wonderland. Thor, where are you?
They're going to introduce another Thor's Rogues Gallery. Surtur, the Fire Demon. Yeah, he was in the MCU also in Thor Ragnarok in the beginning there, and they had that awesome Led Zeppelin song. I think it was Immigrant Song was the Led Zeppelin song that was in that. Has a lot of references to Norse mythology in the lyrics. Well, this is now Loki's disguised himself as Thor, but I love that the Kirby crackle around the energy that was coming out of Thor's hammer there. That was cool. The artist Jack Kirby, who co-created Thor with Stan the Man Lee, that was part of something that he would always incorporate into his art style with energy and such. He'd have these I don't know how to explain it other than calling it, what it became to be known as is Kirby crackle. A lot of other artists pay tribute to Jack Kirby with that. One of his signatures. There it is again. That was cool. Like when they do little nods like that. Good old Webhead and his spider sense. So he figured that out quick. He figured the echo and the voice would be the dead giveaway, but his spider sense helped him out on that one. There was like this. They did a similar thing in a previous cartoon commentary I did for this Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends episode, 7 Little Superheroes, where the Chameleon was the villain and he was disguising himself as several different superheroes, and he had that echo in his voice too, I believe. And they just couldn't figure it out for some reason. How come this guy sounds different? But in that episode, there's 4 guest stars, and like Doctor Strange and Sheena the She-Devil and Captain America, but they don't really, and Namor the Submariner, they don't really do much. They, like I joked about before, they're like pointless cameos, much like Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. But at least in this episode, or in other episodes also that have guest stars, the guest stars actually do something. But that episode, the 7 Little Superheroes episode, and there's also one with Tony Stark, where the one that I mentioned before, where he sets them up with all their gizmos and gadgets. Tony Stark, Iron Man doesn't do shit in that episode, but at least he contributes to the fact that the reason of how they have all that technology in their bedroom, because they're like college students and they're don't have the financial means to afford all that, so they come up with the reason of Tony Stark gifted it to them. So at least there's that. But in that 7 Little Superheroes episode, yeah, those guest appearances, they don't do anything besides get captured and have to be rescued by Spider-Man. But at least in this, like, Thor is integral to the story, to the plot, and Loki and all these characters. So this is a much more satisfying experience, even though I like seeing the Namor and Doctor Strange and all that. Like I said, to hammer in the point, they're not doing much, and at least in this, Thor is he's helping out. He's doing his thing. And you get a sense of who he is and what he does and, that kind of thing. They set it up well. They explain it well. Much more satisfying. And Iceman's having a tussle here with Surtur, the fire demon. And he's being assisted by this ice giant. And she's taking a quick shine to to Bobby Drake. Very humorous. Very funny. He's like a little teddy bear compared to her. This romance has got its problems right up from the jump.
Tell you what, Serona. If I help you get back your throne, maybe
Doesn't matter that she's much taller than you, Iceman. It all lines up in bed. That's terrible. That's a dad joke. All villains have to have a maniacal laugh, and and Loki has it in spades. I like how he's encased. He's trapped Spider-Man and Firestar in those gems, and they're like on his wrists. Very cool imagery. It looks cool.
Is this Ymir as tall as you?
Serona. That's the female ice giant's name. And this ice god here is not impressed with with Bobby Drake Iceman. Love the sound effects I mentioned before. I bring it up any chance that I can get. That the recycled sound effects from like Battlestar Galactica and Buck Rogers from the late '70s, early '80s. Big fan of those shows, especially the Buck Rogers show. I was always more Team Buck Rogers than Battlestar Galactica. It was much more action oriented. So the saying is usually fight fire with fire, but in this case it's fight ice with ice.
Just how little David did it to Goliath.
Love the reference to David and Goliath. I always liked the Iceman character. Of course, he's one of the original X-Men.
All a deep breeze. Hail Serona.
The original, what was it, 5 members? They had Cyclops, Jean Grey Marvel Girl, the Beast, Iceman, and the High Flying Angel,
I'm your consort.
Warren Worthington III. And of course, Professor Xavier.
Your consort will rule side by side.
Yeah, he was one of the original X-Men. I liked he had a limited series that came out in the 80s. Never really had like a consistent ongoing monthly series of his own. He always kind of guest appeared in other people's books, or like I said, he was one of the main cast of the X-Men for a long time, on and off. But in the 90s, they tried to give him like a more gnarly look. Like when he would turn into his ice form, it had like spikes or something like coming out of it. And then they would do like, I think influenced by Terminator 2, where he would make different objects and like stabbing weapons out of his ice, or like a mace with spikes out of it and stuff like in his hand, just to try to give different looks and uses of those powers, which is cool. Something's always got to stay in development, and change with the times. I love that old school boat that's like flying through the air and doesn't need water to get around. It's very mystical. It's magical. That's the whole thing of Thor comics. And he's got this Eric the Red guy as his little henchman. He's got like fire beam shooting out of his sword. Very cool stuff. Fun. And what are the cops gonna do? The cops are showing up. The title of the cartoon series isn't Cops, although there was a show called Cops back in the 80s. Central Organization of Police Specialists. It was like an anagram thing. This is Spider-Man and his amazing friends. They got to be the heroes. The ice giants in this too remind me of I wonder if the comic series was influenced by this. Is another Marvel comic, Crystar, the Crystal Warriors. They had a line of toys too, and for a long while I had it in my head that they had a cartoon series, but that's not true. It's not accurate. I think it was because of the commercials for the toys at the time had animation in it, so I kind of remembered, in my brain that there was a cartoon series. That would have been cool if there was a cartoon series, because I'm all about the cartoon series. But that's what these ice giants remind me of, is those Crystar characters. The cool comic book. I have like 5 or 6 issues of the original series that came out in the 80s. They were kind of cool. I think they were trying to be in their own world, and then they quickly realized that it wasn't selling that well. So then they started to introduce guest stars from the Marvel, comics, like Doctor Strange and Nightcrawler, and different characters like Spider-Man. But love that the first issue cover is like a painted cover. It looks like a movie poster for Crystar. But I digress. We're watching the Spider-Man Is Amazing Friends, or the first episode of the new Thor cartoon. Can't keep a good man down. They try to hold Thor in captivity, and it didn't last long. He used his mighty Mjolnir, his enchanted hammer, to bust him out. And now Sharona and Iceman are realizing that this relationship isn't going to last. It's not going to work. It's got no legs to stand on. And from different worlds. At least it was a mutual breakup. He didn't have to resort to it's not you, it's me. The Desert of Despair. I like that. Oh, he's good. The goodbye kiss, too. Iceman's a player. Now, Thor and Iceman reunited. Yeah. The final showdown. Loki has much to answer for. Thor had some great guest appearances, too, on, there was a Fantastic Four cartoon in the 90s. He had a couple of guest appearances on there that were great. And I think he was voiced by the guy, the actor that I hate myself for not knowing his name. He was in the Indiana Jones films. Sala, that character, I think he voiced Thor. I'm just going by ear. I don't know if that's, don't, quote me on that. But I think that's him. He was also on the TV show Sliders in the 90s, the science fiction series about sliding through like different worlds, like multiverses, which is all the rage now between the new Flash movie that's coming out and the Marvel stuff. Everything is about multiverses. I'm not so much into it because I think it lowers the stakes when you can just have, like, you can kill, for instance, we'll just say Thor because we're watching Thor right now. You can kill off Thor, but then it doesn't matter because we can just pull another Thor from another, world or whatever. So it just lowers the stakes a little bit for me, so I'm not that much into it. But I like this here where Loki is fighting his brother Thor while he's disguised as Thor. So you got Thor versus Thor. That's cool. I always like when they do that, like an evil version of the good character, and they fight. And he's released Spider-Man and Firestar from their captivity in those gems on Loki's wrists. And now it's time for Loki to get his comeuppance. Punishment fits the crime. Iceman's fighting this Eric the Red, I think his name was. Cool stuff. Iceman would often do that, the way his ice sled worked to slow their fall. That was cool. Now Loki's in the place that he imprisoned Thor. Like I said, the punishment fits the crime. And I like how Thor is merciful. Even though this dude teamed up with Loki. Always that's cool too. Another cool use of travel, the way Thor swings his hammer like that. Very imaginative. They always got to end on a joke. Where Bobby could have been king. It's like the ending of Army of Darkness. Yeah, I could have stayed and could have been king. Hail to the king, baby. Iceman should have did that. That would have been sweet. But that is another great episode of Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends. Thanks for letting your geek flag fly with Mad About Superheroes. Please like the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and feel free to comment down below.